Welcome movie fans, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a short little video showing you my Ray Harryhausen collection, which is near complete. Ray Harryhausen was an American visual effects creator who specialized in stop motion animation, created these great creatures, monsters, aliens, flying saucers for all kinds of movies. And he created a technique, dynamation it was called, where he could integrate these models, these stop motion models, in live action footage, so the actors could more or less interact with the creatures. Very cool. Two movies of his filmography aren't in my collection. I'm not very familiar with these movies. First one is The Animal World, a documentary by Irwin Allen, released in 1956, and he was the key animator on that documentary. It was basically a documentary about all animal species that were living on Earth through history, and he did the key animation of the dinosaurs in a certain segment. I never saw that one. The second one I don't own is The Strange World of Planet X, also known as Cosmic Monsters, directed by Gilbert Gunn, released in 1958, and he was the key animator on that one too. He designed and brought to life the killer insects in that movie, and it was uncredited. But yeah, I don't own those ones, so I'll start with the earliest things he did. This is a great set, Ray Harryhausen, The Early Years Collection, a collection of 10 shorts he did near the end of the 40s till around 1952, 1953. The first 4 shorts are visualizations of nursery rhymes, Mother Goose stories like Humpty Dumpty, puppet animation, stop motion animation, and then he had the opportunity to do 6 fairy tales, and the first one was Little Red Riding Hood in 1949. Very bright, colorful, detailed puppet animation, stop motion animation, and he would do 6 of these fairy tales. He made them child friendly, so he left out all the gruesome details of the original fairy tales. And the last one he worked on was in 1952, The Tortoise and the Hare. He never finished that one. He got an offer from Hollywood, big money, and he left the project. And 50 years later, 2 super fans of Ray Harryhausen approached Ray Harryhausen, asked him if they could finish his movie, and he thought that was a good idea. So in 2002, that 6th fairy tale, The Tortoise and the Hare, was released, was finished, and this is a very cool set. When Harryhausen was young, he was a big fan of Merian C. Cooper's and Ernest B. Schuchek's King Kong, of course. The great animated Kong was present in the movie, and I can imagine it was a nice opportunity for him to work with Ernest B. Schuchek on another adventure movie about a king-size gorilla, Mighty Joe Young. I think this is my favorite Ray Harryhausen movie, released in 1949. Very good to look at it. A great movie. Then in 1953 he would work on this movie, The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and this movie was directed by Eugene Lurier, released in 1953, and it was basically a monster movie about a nuclear test that awakens a dinosaur-like monster that goes on ravaging New York. Big inspiration for Honda's Godzilla that was released a year after that, and Harryhausen hated Godzilla. He thought it was very silly, all those guys dressing up in monster suits He was an animator, an artist, and he didn't like that. Then in 1955 he worked on It Came From Beneath the Sea, a movie directed by Robert Gordon, and it's about a giant octopus, a monster movie, yeah. Then he was the key animator on a sci-fi movie, an alien invasion movie, Earth versus the Flying Saucers, released in 1956 and directed by Fred F. Sears. Then a movie was released in 1957 that combined the alien movie and the monster movie. It's about an alien from another planet that trying to destroy Earth. 20 million miles to Earth. Nathan Duran, 1957. Then one of 3 Sinbad movies he worked on was released, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, the first one, again directed by Nathan Duran, about this sailor of Middle Eastern origin that sails the 7 seas and has these great adventures battling these monsters and magicians. Very nice one, Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. And near the end of his career he would do 2 other Sinbad movies. In 1973 he did The Golden Voyage of Sinbad, directed by Gordon Hassler, and stars John Philip Law and Caroline Munro. And in 1977 he would do Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger. That one was released in 1977 and it was directed by Sam Wanamaker, and it stars Jane Seymour. And not many of the movies that Harryhausen worked on had A-list actors in it, or A-list directors. Then he would work on The Three Worlds of Gulliver, directed by Jack Shure, released in 1960, based on Gulliver's Travels, famous novel by Jonathan Swift. And I think this one is the one I least like. There aren't many creatures in this one, and yeah, it's not my favorite Ray Harryhausen project. Then in 1961 he was the key animator on Mysterious Island, a movie directed by Cy Enfield, based on a Jules Verne novel. Jules Verne. It's about an island. People are stranded on that island, and the island is inhabited by these giant-sized animals, and they have to fight these creatures to stay alive. Very good one. Then this one was one of my favorites as a kid, released in 1963, directed by Don Chaffee, Jason and the Argonauts, based on Greek mythology about Jason's quest for the Golden Fleece. Yes, they battle the 7-headed, of the dragon with 7 heads, Hydra. Very cool, this one. Then in 1964 he would work on a sci-fi movie, First Man in the Moon, again directed by Nathan Duran, based on a novel by H.G. Wells, and it's a very entertaining but nonsensical sci-fi adventure movie, this one. And then he would do a movie with the Hammer Studios, released in 1966, directed by Don Chaffee, 1 Million Years BC, starring the sexy Raquel Welch, and it's a movie set in prehistoric times where men and women have to battle against these dinosaurs. In 1969 he would do The Valley of Guangzhi, and that one was directed by Jim O'Connelly, and it's basically a western where cowboys discover a lost valley where they have to battle all these dinosaurs again. Very cool. Look at that, the cowboy on his horse with a spear against these great stop motion creatures. Valley of Guangzhi. Then the two Sinbad movies followed, and the last movie that he did was Clash of the Titans, released in 1981, directed by Desmond Davis. One of my favorite movies that Harryhausen worked on, with with a lot of A-list actors. This one, Laurence Olivier is in it, Claire Bloom, Maggie Smith, Ursula Andress, and it's again based on Greek mythology. It's about Perseus and his quest to save the girl Andromeda. She's destined to marry a monster, and this one I liked as a kid, of course. We love those ones. Medusa, oh, it's such a well-designed creature. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and goodbye.